Welcome back to Match Day Matinee. Where each week, we look at the cinematic takes on the beautiful game. Thank you for joining us. My name is Mark Ilaram. I'll be your host for today, and I'm joined by Adam Ducker.
Hello.
And Regev Sandhu.
What's going on?
How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. Tired week. People that are watching the video notice I'm wearing glasses, which I don't often do. It's because I'm a tired boy today.
Regev, you finally took my advice and started watching Ted Lasso. Are you enjoying it?
I started it yesterday, and I also finished it yesterday. So
You're all caught up.
All caught up, all finished. It was amazing.
There's still, I think, 4 episodes left.
Where?
It's week to
Oh,
week.
you mean in the season? Oh, it's not
coming out
done yet.
weekly.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah, it's a great show. It's surprised me. That's why I've been recommending it every week.
Are you sure there's 4 episodes left?
Yeah, I think they're on episode 7 right now.
Yeah, I just
Yes.
finished episode 7.
So I believe it's a 10-episode season.
Oh, nice.
And they're going to wrap up a few of the storylines. So if they did leave it on that cliffhanger, I'd be disappointed. But yeah,
Because I'm like,
so
okay,
far.
yeah, that's what I thought. I'm like, oh, they're leaving it on this cliffhanger. I didn't realize it was coming out week to week.
No. So yeah, you have more to look forward to. At least
That's awesome.
3 or 4 more, I believe.
Do you know what day it drops usually?
Every Friday. So there's a new one coming tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Well,
That's awesome.
Friday. We record on Thursdays, so Friday.
Yeah.
I expect a new one.
Yeah.
Enough about Ted Lasso. We're going to get into this week's movie, and this was my pick. It was on my Netflix watch list for a while, and it had always piqued my interest, and I'm glad we watched it, but not super enamored with it, but we'll get to that. So this is All the Freckles in the World. It's a 2019 Mexican film. It was distributed worldwide by Netflix, where it's available to watch in all regions. This preteen romantic comedy, as Regev would call it, stars Hansel Casillas as Jose Miguel Mota, Loreto Peralta as Cristina Palazuelos, Jose's love interest, Andrea Sutton as Liliana, Jose's other love interest. And it is directed by Yibrán Asuad, and it runs a well-filled 89 minutes. What did you guys initially think of this movie? Maybe some preconceptions going into it. Regev, we'll start with you.
My thoughts on the movie, how do I put this lightly? I felt very weird watching it as a grown man, just because it is a preteen rom-com. But I did think that cinematically it was shot really well. I will give it that. I think some of the scenes there are breathtaking. Overall, it's an interesting storyline. It's also one of those typical sports movies, also in a sense. But yeah, I mean, what else can I say? I mean, it's not something that's aimed at my demographic. So
it's. I don't know. I enjoyed these kind of like coming of age stories, but this was like a little bit maybe too young.
Yeah.
Too skewed, way too young for me. But Adam, what did you think of this She's All That take on the sport of soccer?
You know, it's weird. So it's also been on my Netflix list for like the longest time. And watching the trailer of it or whatever, I thought it was I got like a proper like John Hughes vibe from it. So like like all those movies that era, like Breakfast Club and stuff, and then it wasn't that at all. And yeah, it is weird. Whenever we get films like this in like Western cinema, like English speaking Western cinema, we always get older actors and actresses playing the roles, so it's somewhat more acceptable. But other countries don't seem to do that, so it is a little bit weird. And it's weird it's super weird to watch because it starts off with a boy having kind of a crush, but then it still sexualizes the girls in a weird way and one of the boys as well, in a way that just starts to make you it's a strange watch. You don't find it's not as relatable in a strange. I think when you have those older actors, you can kind of relate to your own experiences a little bit, but when they're younger, you find it hard because you don't think of yourself when you were that young being into girls or whatever.
Well, grade 7.
So how old are they?
I want to say 14, 15.
Okay.
Or starting to like kind of enter puberty, right?
I guess it's because the main character is such a little boy. Like it's just so weird. You expect him to be. I don't know, but
he's supposed to be 13, I believe.
I guess when you compare him to like the Stranger Things kids, he looks a lot younger, but maybe it's just because he's short.
He's short, yeah. Well, compared to everyone else in the grade, you see that, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so I came in thinking it would be like a John Hughes, witty and stuff, and was kind of a little bit disappointed in some respects. And like the trailer leaned on the music that it uses quite a lot. It gave that vibe.
Like the 90s rock.
Yeah. And I was like expecting more of that. And it was kind of a plot device throughout it. Yeah, it's interesting.
It did have this kind of like whimsical score that went through it.
Yeah, which I wasn't expecting. Yeah, like I guess we'll get into it later. The kid's into making inventions, and when he did all that stuff, it was like whimsical. Yeah. Like there was like a childish beauty in what he was doing, and they were trying to elevate that with this music, which I wasn't expecting at all.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into the plot. So our story begins in Mexico City, 1994. And Jose Miguel Mota, who we've been speaking about as the short fellow, is once again starting at a new school, and he quickly makes an impression on his fellow seventh graders with his bright red lunchbox that would be more suitable in a kindergarten class. Jose's odd but kind of cool demeanor and this like quirky inventor persona that he has, and it helps him quickly make friends, including this freckled goth girl, Liliana, who obviously has feelings for him. And she gives him this mixtape titled The Best Rock, or El Mayor Rock, I guess, which is the best rock in Spanish. So we're also introduced to the real star of the film at this point when he pulls out the cake. And that for me is Marcello Barcello as Motorcito. Yeah. You guys know what I'm talking about when he's like, can I get a bite of that?
Yeah. There's always a big kid in every one of these films. And it's brilliant. They steal the show.
Yeah. I'm going to make an argument for this one being even better than Florida from Ultra.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. But despite Liliana's affection for Jose, he has his sights set on Christina, who's this blonde girl that you mentioned before. She's this blonde, freckled girl she's actually not even available because she's dating this guy, Kenji Matarazzo, an Italian-Japanese kid who's constantly warning Jose to back off in some of the funniest ways possible. He's telling him, like, look, we're all God's children, so I don't want to end your life. We're all brothers. I don't want to have to
She says to him stood in a washroom.
Yeah. Even when later on you hear the rock music that Christina gets from Jose, he's like, this is devil's music. If you play this backwards, you'll hear satanic stuff. So he's a devout Catholic. But Jose ignores his warnings, and he attempts to craft an invention as a birthday gift for Christina. But after the multiple failures, he resorts to asking his mom for help to bake a cake. And that ends in disaster as well because his dad ends up eating it. His dad mistakes it for a cake that his son has baked for him, and he eats it. So he ends up buying her a cake. And as he's presenting it to her in one of the odder scenes of this movie, but also really well shot and kind of interesting, he gets absolutely rocked in the face by a soccer ball. And I can't imagine how they filmed this with this 13-year-old kid. And like just stand there and take this shot to the face because it's done in slow motion. You can see it actually hits him. And like, I just wanted to kind of ask you guys, do you guys have any stories of playing soccer with your friends and seeing somebody just get absolutely smashed in the face with a ball? You must.
Not myself many times.
Yourself.
Yeah.
And I had it worse once, me and another lad, both jumping up for a header, both missing it, smashing each other in the head. And then I actually threw up in the math class afterwards and turned out like I had a massive concussion. I felt fine, and then suddenly I was using like graph paper, and suddenly the page just went purple and like everything was moving, and then I just threw up everywhere. And that's probably one of the worst ones I remember.
Yeah, it's definitely concussion.
Yeah.
When I was in seventh grade, we had, do you guys know Body Break?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
Their son was actually in my school, and he was just hanging out with his friends, staying active as his parents told him to do. And we were playing soccer, and I guess the ball just kind of went wide of the net. He got smashed like face on. And I don't know if it hurt him or shocked him, but it took 5 seconds before he realized he got hit in the face.
Oh, wow.
So he just went completely quiet and then just started bawling his eyes out. Everyone was like, that's the Body Break kid. But that's my story. So Christina happily accepts the gift, and that night at the dinner table we see Jose, but he's like just adrift in absolute
he's just like leaning back and like his cheek is red as anything.
So speaking of concussion, he definitely might have one. It just looks like he's just enamored with this girl. And we also get this really cool scene where he sees Christina for the first time, and like you were saying, Ragev, how it was directed really well. the camera does this kind of pull zoom into his face, and then his pupils dilate and go really wide because he's seeing something that he likes.
Yeah.
They use it again later on in the movie, but it's not done as well. But the first time you see it here, it's really eye-catching. So Christina accepts the gifts. He's at the dinner table. He probably has concussion. And then Liliana makes one last attempt to kind of win back his heart with a kiss while they're meeting at their usual spot. But he just kind of like puts his head down, and her love is kind of unrequited. She tells Jose that if he really wants to win Christina's heart, that he should probably join the school's mini soccer tournament, the Narcisa and Mendoza World Cup, which everyone is actually really hyped up about. So Jose gathers his group of outcasts and these characters to form a team. And this is where we're introduced to, we see Mallow. Mallow, who's somebody who we've met earlier on. He's a 19-year-old who's failed grade 7. I can't remember how many times, but it must be 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
He's got this big, like, curly, goofy hair. He's got the body of a 19-year-old, so he's fully completed puberty at this point. We've got Tarolas, the hip-hop dancer. We got, like, these cool slow-motion montages.
Oh, yeah.
We get Thriller, this kid with leg braces, and he wears one glove. And he also sits underneath the stairs so he can look up girls' dresses as they come down in their uniforms. And then we get the aforementioned Motorcito, the chubby kid in net. And it turns out Mallow actually has some skill. And he's good enough that he gets them all the way to the finals, like despite everyone else on the team being terrible.
Yeah.
And this is finally where like the footy action begins. And we do get a lot of funny scenes. Like I loved a lot of the scenes in this movie. And we'll get to like the actual footy part of it later on. But there's so many funny scenes in this with like Motorcito trying to direct the wall. And he's like, a little bit left.
And it flies past his head.
Yeah, it's so good. And he's got the face of like a 7-year-old like Italian mob boss for some reason. And he just has like a stone cold look on his face. It just sells it so well.
Yeah.
And then the first time Thriller gets the ball past him, he just leans over and picks it up for some reason.
Yes.
Then we get Motorcito. So Mallow is actually amazing. He scores a goal. And then we get Motorcito celebrating in slow motion, just jumping up and down, and like you see his entire like body
just moving. Yeah, he must have done one of those where it's not slowed down, like it's actually captured at like 120 frames per second or something to capture every single movement.
Yeah, it looks amazing. And there are a lot of slow motion scenes in this movie. And they use, I guess, like macro lenses really well, so you get these zoomed in shots of the actors' faces, and it looks fantastic.
No, for sure.
It's like really kind of like intimate, like these looks at. There's some scenes when they're kissing. There's also scenes where like Jose is shaving for the first time, right? And you get these really like, close-up moments with him.
Yep.
I think it helps the football scenes as well because it's like 5-a-side, right? So it makes it feel like more claustrophobic. And like really gives that sense that there's no space on a 5-a-side pitch, which is really good use. But then it doesn't. They get that while still is throughout the rest of the film, so it stylistically fits kind of. So it's not jarring when it happens during the games.
Yeah, it feels consistent and it looks great. So at this point, Liliana sees that Jose actually has a chance at winning this tournament and winning Christina's heart. So she begins to pull away from him, and she eventually reveals to Christina that Kenji and Jose have this side bet that whoever wins this tournament will get Christina. And it's a trope that we've seen in like numerous movies, but it never stops being crappy. Like it's such a crappy thing that you're going to put the girl as the prize at the end of this tournament you're competing for. But she finds out, and then Jose, who's supposed to be the protagonist of this movie, and we want to root for him, he does another crappy thing where he lies to her again, right? Yeah. He just kind of like downplays Kenji and just like bashes the poor guy, who he's not that bad of a guy, to be honest. Like he's just... This kid's trying to steal his girlfriend. So.
Yeah, but Jose sells it so well too, right? It's like, it doesn't even seem like it's acting almost, where he's just like, yeah, sorry, like, Kenji made the bet. I tried to protect your honor.
Yes,
like,
and there's like an innocent, there's like an innocence to it. He does sell it. He's like genuine in his love for her. It's not a game to him. Whereas the other kid, with the boyfriend, it is Kenji. It kind of is a game.
Yeah.
Well, because he's like, it's clear that he's moved from city to city because his dad is a pilot, I think. Right? So this is they say it right at the beginning of the movie, but I didn't write down. I think this is like his third school in as many years.
Yeah.
And these are all just kind of like like bit characters in his life where he moves from city to city and he doesn't really care about people. Like he just moves to a new town, kind of becomes infatuated with the next kind of best thing that he finds and just manipulates people. And he's had to do that for every town that he's moved to, right?
Yeah.
So on the eve of the finals, we haven't mentioned this yet, but Mallow suffers an injury to his pubis, which I'm still not exactly sure what they meant by that.
I think I know what they meant
because they say pelvis at one point, and he's sort of like, I'm not sure. Like that's not actually what it is.
So I think one of the things in this movie that maybe we just looked over just now is that the movie basically insinuates that he has an affair with his teacher, Miss Yolanda.
Yeah, very strongly insinuates.
And apparently before his injury, he went home with her, like to get tutored. Yeah. But went home with her, and then the next scene is basically him lying in the hospital and complaining about his pubis.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it also insinuated that she's held him back in school deliberately? Because it's kind of like, it's like maybe he is like not the brightest kid, but could have still passed. Because there's the other teacher that mentions he's kind of good, but then you do see him in the library with Liliana, like actually struggling to get answers to stuff. Yeah. So I don't think he's like an F student. I think he probably could be a C student. Yeah. And then it's almost like he's got his own, he's kind of dead inside when they see him at the hospital, because he's kind of got his own story that he's actually good at football. He plays for some reserve team and just nobody knew because everyone just thinks he's the dumb kid. Yeah. So it's like it's really weird how they don't properly address it. It's just kind of like, and I thought they were going to, because you see a couple of scenes where like the referee at one point is kind of glancing across, and a couple of other teachers do, like when he scores a goal, she's like, go honey, and people glance at her. Yeah. And it's just like, they don't really address it other than him just being sad and left in a hospital on his own whilst they go and play the final. It's just, it's really strange. I thought maybe it was going to be like some statement about something or another issue, like another actual, but it just ends up being a little more than like a side story.
It's just a side story, yeah. But that scene you mentioned was really funny though, when she's like, come on, honey, when Mallow scores. And then because she sees that people are looking at her, she's like, I mean, all of you are my honeys.
All of my babies.
All of my babies.
Yeah, he's such a good character. But the thing is, like you're saying, he gets used by everyone in this movie. Yeah. I mean, Jose's using him to win the tournament. Yolanda is clearly like a sexual predator that's using him. The other teacher, Mencio, I think it is, wants to help him, wants to make him, wants to have him move across to the high school. But at the same time, he's kind of just using for his association with this guy, Mohammed. Yeah. Star player on like a local team.
Yeah. Like he just wants it for the prestige of having a player, right? That's gone through.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's kind of living his glory through them, right? Like you mentioned several times that him and Jose's dad won a regional tournament, and they also used to dominate this mini World Cup that they had. The Mendoza Cup in the end. Was it national?
It was national something, yeah.
Yeah. So Mallow's out of the finals because he hurt his pubis, whenever that may be. It's never specified. But after losing to Kenji's team 18-1, Jose accuses him of cheating and he instigates a fight with him, and he just gets like knocked out, just like straight punch to the face, falls backwards. And then as Christina checks to see if he's okay, he finally makes his move and he kisses her, and then sparks fly in this moment that's filmed like I was saying, very intimately, and it's kind of held for almost like a minute, it feels like, where it's just close-ups on their faces, right?
Well, you can't 100% tell that they're actually definitely kissing. Like it's almost like focused on their cheeks in a weird way. I was like, maybe they're not. Maybe they're just like laying with their cheeks next to each other.
Yeah, so it just zoomed down up there at one point.
Yeah.
So cut to a couple weeks later, and Jose's at the mall with Christina, and they're actually dating now. He's won his girl, but you can tell something's up with him, right? And as it turns out, that his obsession with Christina was just an infatuation. So he doesn't actually like her. He's not actually interested in her as a person. He just viewed her as an object. And then when he did win that object, it all kind of fell apart at that point. So he finally breaks to Christina that he believes that he likes Liliana. And she slaps him, and deservedly so, because she broke up with Kenji, who she had a good relationship with, for this little rascal boy that comes to town and just ruins everything. So Jose grabs a basket and he seeks out a bouquet of flowers, not a basket. and he seeks out Liliana, and he finds her making out with Kenji in his it's like a Volkswagen Cabriolet.
Yeah.
And then it's such an awkward scene where she tells him to beat it, and they just kind of, they're not even angry at him. They both just kind of laugh at how absurd it is.
Yeah.
Like, are you serious, man? Like, get out of here. And they just roll up the window on him, and he just stands there kind of watching.
All right.
So Jose, I have a nephew named Jose Miguel, so I keep getting confused. He has the exact same name as the main character in this movie. Jose Miguel heads home, and his father is waiting for him at the dinner table. And this scene is actually really cool. So it's the first time we see his father in the entire movie. And his father ate his cake earlier in the movie, and he hands him a Walkman as kind of an apology, right? Olive branch for doing that. And then at this point, so we didn't mention it, but the 1994 World Cup is actually going on throughout this entire movie. It's kind of weaved into like the narrative of the movie. We see whenever Jose's at home, his little sister, who's cute as hell, is just cheering for Zaggy. Just like, Zaggy, Zaggy. And then there's like a Zaggy hotline, which is like a $1 a minute hotline.
Yeah, it's a talk
to Zaggy. Yeah. So she's trying to call the hotline. So at this point in real life, actually, so Mexico's been knocked out of the World Cup on penalties to Bulgaria. So there's some confusion here because his dad is telling him, sorry about what happened. You know, if you want to talk about it, I'm here. Your sister's upstairs crying. And then Jose's confused and he's like, how does everyone know about it? And why is my sister so upset? It's the penalties.
Yeah.
And he takes the Walkman, he leaves, and his dad breaks it to him that they're going to be moving again. He found a new job. They're going to be moving down by the water, but they'll have a house with a pool, and you'll have time to say goodbye to all your friends. You have 2 weeks.
Yep.
So Jose goes to the school. He says bye to everyone. He sees the two girls who are now friends, which is actually really cool. And he tells them that he loved them both. They both just kind of laugh at him. And again, he leaves. We see Jose, his mom, his sister, the Zaggy-loving Loretta, I think her name was, driving to the countryside, and then they stop for a pee break. And this is when he sees another girl with freckles playing baseball. He walks up to the fence, he puts on his headphones, and then I thought this was a cool detail, but he's not listening to rock anymore. So he's already dropped this
Yeah.
kid. Yeah. He's listening to some like decent Mexican music, watches this girl hit a home run, and then it hits the credits. And then we get an update on what everyone's kind of doing right now. Most interesting of which is Motorcito, who became a
sports minister, no?
A sports minister, but now he's a convict.
No, he's a fugitive.
Yeah.
Fugitive, yes.
He's a fugitive, yeah.
Yeah, and then everyone else kind of gets like cool stories. Jose ends up marrying somebody. He never moves again, and his new wife has all the freckles in the world. Yeah. So we can kind of assume that maybe he did marry the girl at the baseball diamond, but falling in love at 14 and then getting married, who knows? It could happen. But that's our movie. I enjoyed most of it. I was disappointed by the ending, and I think because most times in these coming of age stories, or like when I was a kid, my favorite movie was My Girl. So just to set the tone, like this, it's one of those like
sure
coming of age stories. Yeah, you guys know that movie?
Yeah.
Nope, I don't.
Macaulay
Culkin and that girl that's
no,
Anna Klumsky.
That's it. Yeah.
Don't watch it now. Like it won't have any context now. Yeah. But there's always kind of a resolution at these movies where it's either tragic, where, and if you look at examples like Lars and the Dying Girl, is it Lars? No, Me. I can't remember. It might be Lars and the Dying Girl. Me, Earl and the Dying Girl. Edge of 17. Like there's a few movies like this. As Adam mentioned, John Hughes films. But the thing is that these movies, there's always a resolution where it's either tragic, where somebody passes away and then people learn a life lesson that's been passed on to them by that person, or there's a happy ending where
everyone ends up together, or something.
People find themselves, there's character growth, and then it's kind of tied up nicely. But this movie didn't have any of that.
No, he
didn't get his comeuppance. No. Relationships were ruined, and then the movie just kind of ends, and that's it.
Yeah.
Still don't like the protagonist by the end of this film. But what are your guys' thoughts?
I agree. You don't. And the weird thing is, I didn't like him from the start, really. When he came in, he had kind of an aloof manner to him when he came to the school. He's like, I'm an inventor. And we haven't really touched on his inventions. He made some cool inventions in this film. Like, he had that weird little cube that you could kind of look into. He was making something for for Christina that kind of
tape rewinder.
Yeah, the tape rewinder for Liliander. Yeah. That like had an alarm clock function. It seems to be. He made a magnetic ball that we've not touched on.
But he destroys much better electronics to make these.
Yeah. But yeah, he doesn't grow. The only real development at the end of the film that we see that's not the post-credit stuff is that the two girls end up friends when they probably wouldn't have been before, because one's like a goth and the other's like the mean girl style kind of walking around lollipop in mouth with a group of girls. That's basically it. That's the only... And then, he just goes off and then he's like, meh, on to the next.
That's my whole thinking as well, because, this is pitted as a coming of age story. He didn't go anywhere, right? I mean, he was still the same little sad boy that he was at the beginning of the movie. And definitely at the beginning of the movie, you're kind of like cheering for him. Yes, you want him to get Christina. And then towards the end, I'm like, dude, you're a dick, right? Of course, he's a kid. I mean, and that's how everything goes. But I think one of the most interesting themes in this movie is, you're right, it's at the backdrop of World Cup 94. Everybody's into the Mexican team. He's not into football at all. Yeah. He's not into soccer. No. Every time the game's on, he's in his room doing inventions, studying even. And just because he wants to get Christina, he's like, yeah, I love football. I love soccer. And she's like, who's your team? And he says something like the Sharks or something like that. Yeah.
No, he says Mexico. And then she's like, no, what's your favorite club team?
Yeah.
The Sharks.
The Sharks, and which is not a real team at all. And she just kind of laughs it off. But basically, it's a thing where he's trying to pretend. And I mean, I remember when I was that age and like even into high school, right? These girls would be like, yeah, we're into this. And you're like, yeah, me too. Right. So yeah, I guess it's telling the story of a boy of that age, but it's not, he didn't come of age or anything. He was the same guy at the end that he was in the beginning.
Yeah. And that may be down to the fact that he has to move every couple of years, right? So it is kind 100%. Of like stunted development.
Yep.
And like you're saying, you're always trying to fit in. So you just kind of build your character around what can help you fit in, right? And he's constantly doing that. So he's never kind of found himself.
And that could be I didn't think of it like that way, but yeah.
So we're talking about the Mexico kind of backdrop of this. So one of the cool things about that was I looked into it. So Mexico was actually banned from Italy 90. It was actually kind of a hype moment for them to be in USA 94. So in 1988, they were banned because they used overage players at the U20 CONCACAF tournament.
Oh, okay.
And it was a pretty big scandal known as, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but it was Kashi rules. So they were banned from 1988 up until 1992, I believe it was. And then in 1993, they won the CONCACAF Gold Cup, which I believe Canada has won once. And then they finished second at the Copa America in 1993, losing to Argentina in the final. So there was a bit of momentum riding on this team. And they had this guy, Zaggy, who was a pretty big star at that time. So it's kind of cool to see that kind of weaved into this period piece in 1994.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out what the title meant. And the best I can figure out, All the Freckles in the World, is a play on all the money in the world.
Okay.
Which kind of is saying, like, if you have all the money in the world, you would still be left wanting. Right? So he wants all the freckles in the world, these two girls with all the freckles, but at the end of the day,
still
he's
not enough,
an incomplete person. But that's my analysis of the title.
But then that's what's so annoying about this film, is it ends with that bit and it says he gets with a girl with all the freckles in the world. And it's like, well, how? Because he was an asshole still when we last saw him.
So it's called Todas las pecas del mundo, which is the same translation, right? Yeah. But is it like, is that the same saying in Spanish as it is in English? All the money in the world?
I would think so, right? It's like, this movie was in 1994, but it's made in a modern time. We're kind of like a global village now where ideas carried across borders. Yeah. Like there was even a movie a couple of years ago, All the Money in the World, with Mark Wahlberg, I want to say.
Yeah.
About the Getty kidnapping.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a hidden phrase anymore, right? It's all over.
That's true. No, you're right.
Yeah. Any other moments you guys kind of stand out with?
Trying to think here.
No. Like, it's another one of those films clearly meant to have comedy elements, but I think the only bit I genuinely laughed out at was the Mallow being introduced and asking if he could have a bite. Like, I'm just flicking through my notes quickly. Yeah.
Motorcito, yeah.
I'll tell you another thing that's funny. I forget, it's when Jose's hanging out on his bed, I think, with Liliana, and he's drawing a picture, and they're like, is that a picture of a house or something? And he's like, no, it's my grandfather bending over a bar of soap. And then you look at the little sketch and you're like, wait a second, like, oh, yep, I see it.
Mallow was like twisting the picture sideways, trying to figure out what it was. So.
And like with this really simple look on his face, like it's so funny.
It's clearly a guy who hasn't had like sex education in school yet, but at the same time, he's being taken advantage of by this teacher, right?
But Miss Yolanda.
Yeah, it's man, poor Mallow. There were so many good characters in this movie that kind of stood out to me, like the referee at the World Cup who was the phys ed teacher who's like overcompensating for his role. Yeah. Then there's the kid with the denim jacket that was keeping score the entire time.
Oh yeah,
right.
He's called Paolo or something, I think. I forget. Something like that.
Oh, right. He gets kicked out at one point. Yeah. His name. I was thinking he was nameless, but yeah, he gets kicked out because he's talking to Mallow.
Yeah.
His little sister, who's hilarious.
Yeah, she's so funny and cute.
Exactly. And I loved how she kept hanging the thread over hating people, which is something to do. Yeah, it's like, I'll hate you. I can hate you if I want to. Like,
I can hate everybody. Or something she says at one point.
And at one point, the mom is like, you got to stop hating everybody. Or, you can't just hate everybody.
Yeah. And then they get knocked out of the World Cup. And she's like, I hate Zaggy. Not all the there. That was cute. So, any last thoughts?
I don't think so. I don't have anything else in my notes, really. No.
Okay.
No, me neither.
Before we do our reviews and our ranking, let's move on to Footy Flicks.
Yeah.
Which I was worried there wasn't going to be much of. English Adventure, I think we had none, and I was worried it was going to just barely beat that, but we did end up getting like maybe a good third of the movie that was Footy Flicks.
This definitely had them.
Yeah. So what was your favorite moments? And Brigitte, we'll start with you.
Yeah, it's when in the very beginning, when they first start the tournament, Kenji just does that like flick up in the air and just scores. I'm like, that looked bad. Like that looked good, like bad in a good way. That looked good. It was a wicked footy flick. And I don't know if you also want to count this, but the whole, the wall thing by Motorcito. I think that was a funny footy flick, but I think like legit wow moment was Kenji doing that move in the very beginning of the tournament and scoring that goal. I'm like, damn, this kid has skill. And he actually looked like he had skill just as an actor too when it comes to playing football.
Yeah, that's true, because we did see him when they first introduced him kind of playing in the background, and they're they're talking about him. He's Italian and his grandfather's Japanese, and he might have a black belt. And then you do see him kind of dribbling.
Yeah.
Adam, what did you think?
My favorite two are actually both like comedic ones. So the one where Kenji gives him a free shot at the beginning of the game, and he's like, go for it, have a shot. And then they clear the line for him, and he shoots and it goes wide. And then I also like the other one. We've not really talked about it, but Thriller throughout the film has like almost like orthopedic shoes and like braces on his feet. Like, I guess the easiest reference is Forrest Gump. When he's a kid, he has similar like braces on, and he's like, I can't take them off. My mum says I'll fall over if I do. And then Jose, being the asshole he is like, no, take them off. We need you to take them off to win the game. And if we win the game, you'll get a girlfriend. And he takes them off, and you see him running with the ball, and it's like, holy shit, he can actually run. And it's like, no, he falls flat on his face and knocks his front teeth like clean out, and he's like, mom.
He's pretty sure it's gone right away.
It's so funny.
That was my favorite. Personally, mine was Motorcito. That whole moment, I think it was in the trailer. I can't remember. Like, I might have watched it 3 times just because I tried watching this movie at night and I fell asleep the first 2 times. But every time I saw that moment, I laughed, where he's there and he's telling him a little bit to the left, a little bit to the left.
Yeah, that's good.
Just excellent comedic timing from Marcello Barcello. He's going to be a star one day. Yeah. And then the other moment when he's celebrating, when they find out that Mallow can actually play and they score that first goal, and they're all just kind of celebrating in slow motion.
Yeah.
I love that. That was good. Just because Motorcito just moving in slow motion, and just the pure kind of joy from everyone there. It was a nice moment in the middle of the film. Yeah. But decent footy flicks. I would.
Yeah, I think I don't know if they overuse, but it's obvious, like, because there are some skilled players, but they definitely rely a lot on, because it's like outdoor on concrete, like the clunk of because the goals are purely steel frames, like even the nets, like steel or whatever, or iron. So they rely on that clunking sound as the ball hits the back of the net every time. So you see a lot of you'll see the shot happen and then you'll just hear the clunk, or you'll have it the other way where you don't necessarily see the shot actually, like at the free kick, for example, that we keep talking about. You don't see that shot happening, but you see it going into the goal and making the clunking sound. So it's kind of cool. It's like they obviously made a choice to use that, and it fits though, right? Because it's realistic. Like they wouldn't have nets because they'd have to be replacing them all the time, and it's in Mexico. Right. You'd imagine it's more cost effective to have these big old metal goals. But it was cool. I definitely liked it, and like I said before about the way they were claustrophobic, and it's super cool.
So it's interesting you say that, because right before you said that, I was just about to say, while we're talking about footy flicks, the pitch itself. When I was a kid in Germany, actually, a lot of the pitches we had behind like our daycares or schools are exactly like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're either with like a lot of cement pitches. We do have a lot of cement pitches with metal goals, but we also have like gravel pitches with cement goals.
Yeah.
Just because grass is obviously hard to maintain when there's 100 kids playing on it, right? But yeah, definitely those kind of goals are very, very popular in Germany as well when it comes to schools.
Even the setup of the schools, I guess, because the communities there are so dense, it's built up.
Yeah.
You don't see here, right? Almost looks like a shopping mall or apartment complex.
It looked like an old apartment complex. Like I was super confused at first. I was like, what is this? I was like, do they live at the school or something? I was really confused at first because it definitely looks like old apartments that you would see.
Yeah. But it's definitely different from what we have here, right? Where it's just subdivisions with rows of houses.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to some trivia.
Sure.
And I have the score sheet here. So it's unfortunate that wait. I had the scores mixed up. So it's not bad that I'm hosting this week because Regev, you are in the lead with 6. Adam, you have 4.
Oh, no.
And I thought I had 4. I have 5. So right now we're at 6-5-4. So Regev, you will maintain a lead over me either way. Adam, you have a chance to leapfrog both of us. And let's get to these questions. And you know what kind of questions I ask. There's going to be some questions related to some crests, maybe some odd ones, some nickname ones. So
okay,
as long as it's not USA 94, because that's a complete blind spot for me because England didn't qualify.
Same here.
Like I watched that World Cup with my dad and I remember nothing about it because England weren't there. It's like it's completely disappeared from my mind.
USA 94, it was a pretty good World Cup from what I remember. I watched the FIFA film not too long ago.
Yeah.
It's funny you should say that because the first question is about you. First question is about the star Mexican forward Zaggy. And he was celebrated in 2003 with a testimonial match at Estadio Azteca. So Club America, featuring Zaggy, defeated which club with a score of 2-0? And I'm going to give you the options here. All right. Is it Barcelona, Chelsea, Atlante, so not Atlanta, Atlante, which is another Mexican club, or LA Galaxy? So Barcelona, Chelsea, Atlante, or LA Galaxy. Regev, because you are in the lead, I'm going to give this one to Adam first.
Can you just repeat the question? Sorry.
So there was a 2003 testimonial for Zaggy, who was finishing his career at that point. He played for Club America, and they played which club?
Okay.
Barcelona, Chelsea, Atlante, or LA Galaxy?
I'm going to say Barcelona.
Okay. Regev, your answer?
Sorry, what year was this again?
2003. Would have been a pretty messy Barcelona, I believe.
Oh.
Barcelona, Chelsea, Atlante, or LA Galaxy? I'm going to say Chelsea.
Chelsea?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It was FC Barcelona.
Yes. Nice.
So this is a side that would have had like Xabi, Iniesta, and Riquelme.
Why do they want to play there?
No idea. He didn't play for them either. So it's interesting they would use Barcelona.
Seems like a waste.
My guess would be that they wanted to kind of extend their reach, so it's kind of a promotional play for them, which would have made sense.
Like Chelsea,
that's the reason I said Chelsea, because that's around when Abramovich came in, right?
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit too early for them trying to. I had the same thought for a second, but I don't think they were quite as big on that stuff then. And then LA Galaxy made no sense because it doesn't seem prestigious enough to me.
No. And they hadn't started their whole like Beckham expansion at that point.
Yeah, that's true.
They had like Kobe Jones at that point, maybe.
Oh,
Kobe
yeah.
Jones.
So this movie has some awesome nicknames. We get Motorcito, we get Thriller, we get Tolosa. I can't remember that guy's name, but Mexico's top goal scorer, Chicharito. Wonderful moniker. What does it mean? Is it Speedy Chicken, Little P, Tiny Bean, or Lightning Quick?
Okay.
Regav, you go first.
It's Little P.
Adam?
Same, Little P.
Little P. Son of a bit. So it was actually inherited from his father, who was given the name Chicaro for his green eyes. So it meant P, and then Little P. How did you guys know? Did you actually know that one?
I remember it from when he was at Man United.
I remembered it when you mentioned it from exactly the same time. If you had just asked us the question, I would have had to think about it. But when you mentioned it, I was like, yeah, it's Little P.
All right. You guys won't get this next one. So when Christina asks Jose what his favorite club team is, he kind of struggles for an answer to think of a team, and then he says the one with the Sharks. So I looked into it to try and see which club actually has Sharks.
Okay.
Is it Sharks on the crest? Sorry, I should say.
Okay.
Is it Santos Laguna? Is it CD Veracruz, Necaxa, or Toluca? So Santos Laguna, Veracruz, Necaxa, or Toluca? Adam, you'll be going first on this one.
I'm going to say Toluca.
Okay. Redev?
I'm going to say Veracruz.
Veracruz?
Yeah.
It's Veracruz.
Woo!
Got a red shark on it. And funny enough, that club actually dissolved a month after this movie came out.
Oh, wow. No way.
So my rationale is I know what Santos Laguna's crest looks like because they've played TFC like twice at least.
Yeah.
Toluca's because they're a pretty popular team. What was the other one?
Necaxa.
Yeah, Necaxa, I know what their crest sort of also looks like.
Yeah.
I think it's red. And Veracruz is the only one I didn't know. Yeah.
Okay. So both you guys got that one?
No, I did not. I updated the scores as we were going along.
Okay, so now we're at 8, 6, and 5. Regev, you were still in the lead with 8. Adam, you have 6, so you leapfrogged me, and I'm at 5. Next week, who's hosting?
Ragav. It's the
Ragav,
penalty,
okay.
yeah.
So
Penalty. Okay, yeah, that movie. Yeah.
All right, so we've done our footy flicks, we've done our trivia. Let's put this on the table. And Adam, do you have the table?
I do, actually, yeah. So in 6th place, we have My English Soccer Adventure. 5th place, Captain Tsubasa. 4th place, Goal 2. 3rd place, When Saturday Comes. 2nd place, Shaolin Soccer. And 1st place is still Summer of 92.
Okay. So we know it's not going to be Summer of 92, but I'm going to head this one over to Regev first because I want him to kind of set the stage and maybe we can debate him on this one.
This is so tough, man. So it's better than English Soccer Adventure.
Yeah.
For me, it's better than Tsubasa.
Okay.
I personally think it's better than Shaolin Soccer, but When Saturday Comes kind of messes it up for me. Because Shaolin Soccer we have in second. Yeah, second?
Yeah.
Second, yeah. And I thought most of the movies we watched are better than that. But this movie, jeez.
It's always When Saturday Comes that it kind of
It's always.
It's become the Mike Bassett of this season, kind of. It's the film we don't want to put anything above, but we might have to one day.
That's it.
I think once we break that 3rd position and move When Saturday Comes, it becomes much easier.
That's true.
Here's the rub for me. Obviously, Summer of 92 is the best. Shaolin Soccer, I see its appeal. When Saturday Comes, I liked it. I just think the way aesthetically this movie was shot, even though I felt weird watching it, at one point I have to shut it off and walk out of my living room so people wouldn't judge me. I still think it's very aesthetically pleasing. The story makes sense. It's not a coming of age, but it's still something that shows that particular. So I'm putting this above When Saturday Comes. I'm putting this in 3rd place.
Okay. Adam, I'm going to let you go next because you have a personal connection to When Saturday Comes. So I can see it going in 3rd, but if you can convince me otherwise, go for it.
I would actually wedge it between When Saturday Comes and Goal 2.
Okay.
It's definitely better than Goal 2. I think like Goal 2's so shallow, and at least like the kid's an asshole in this, but at least he's consistent. And my problem with Santiago in the Goal 2 was that he kind of flip-flops around. When Saturday comes, you know, it's hard, right? We're talking about like character development and happy endings. When Saturday comes, it's almost the opposite problem in this film. They fast forward his character development and just put it all in a montage, and he's suddenly like a great guy who suddenly wants to have the kid with Annie and all this stuff. And I'll move out with you, yada, yada. And it's like, it's not as believable, whereas this is more believable.
I think we're forgetting some scenes in Saturday Comes, though, because there is one awesome scene where he says, I'll only have one drink.
Yeah, and then he gets
in the bar with the captain's hat, partying and stuff like that. There are some pretty good moments in One Saturday.
There are, for sure.
Even the final match when I think it's the FA Cup, Sheffield United against
Man United. Yeah.
Do they have a Motorcito, though? That's the real question.
They have his little brother who's so terrible.
Exactly.
For me, I would put it doesn't beat When Saturday Comes, but if you, like Raghav says it does, so if you, Mark, I'm not going to fight on a hill for it. I do think When Saturday Comes has a more believable story, but then it's hard because he is a kid. Like, how much do you expect him? Like, between the ages of like 12 and 16, you are all over the place. You are an asshole. The fact that the film, and he has a weird circumstance where he moves around, so it's hard to compare. And they both have really good footy flicks for their own different reasons. Like, this movie isn't trying to emulate, isn't trying to do like a full stadium like When Saturday Comes is. I'd put it in fourth behind When Saturday Comes, but above Goal 2.
All right. So it's down to me then.
Yeah.
I am going to... So I've seen this movie 1.5 times because I've watched the beginning twice, and it still doesn't get old to me. I'm going to put it in third. Just because if somebody asks what film they should watch and it comes down to When Saturday Comes or this, and it's all hard because even the age differences and what audiences these are so vastly different. But you know what? I'm going to put it behind When Saturday Comes.
So you're putting it in fourth.
Because you know what? If we're looking at this as football films and somebody's saying, what are the best football films? I got to give it to When Saturday Comes overall.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
That's a very, very good point.
Yeah. So I definitely have to put it after When Saturday Comes.
I'm flip-flopping too. I'm going to put it behind When Saturday Comes.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm flip-flopping.
So the top.
Yeah, because no, especially after you said, if we're just looking at football films and telling people what football films to watch, I'm like, no, don't watch this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some films where, and I think we'll get to one in a bit, with The Keeper, where the football's less prevalent, but then I think in those instances the story's going to be way better.
But then we're going to keep bringing up this point, though, right? It could have the greatest storyline, but it's like, as a football film, would you tell people to watch this? And then if it has a great storyline, what do we do then, right?
So then we almost have to look at the scoring on a weighting system where like the football itself is almost as worthy of what the storyline is.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely have this argument when we get to The Keeper in like 2 weeks, because there's not a lot of football in that film, but the football's the destination in that film versus a lot of these films, like this film, where football is the vehicle for the plot, is like a different relationship. But okay, fourth place then.
Fourth place it is.
Fourth place. So now we're looking at seventh place is My English Soccer Adventure. Sixth place is Captain Tsubasa, European Daikisen. Fifth place is Goal 2, Living the Dream. Fourth place is now All the Freckles in the World. Third place is still When Saturday Comes. Second place is Shaolin Soccer. And in first place is Summer of 92, holding it down for a few weeks now, and it's going to be hard to beat. So
it's going to be very hard to beat.
More than halfway through the season, I think we've had some pretty good films so far. Maybe a couple stinkers.
A couple stinkers, but I really enjoyed Summer of 92 and When Saturday I actually really did enjoy When Saturday Comes, not gonna lie, right?
It was good.
I hate Shaolin Soccer.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. that's don't worry about it.
It is hard but I guess ultimately we'll see where it lands in the overall table.
Cumulative table?
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Do you guys want to give this a star rating? I don't think it's necessary.
Nah, we already placed it. It's all good.
It's like 2.5 or something.
Yeah, it was
2.5. That's fair.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. So that wraps up this week's film, All the Freckles in the World. I've been looking forward to it for a while. I'm glad we did it. But next week we have Penalty, which is Regev's somewhat pick. He had originally picked Men in the Arena, which we also recommend watching, but it turns out that's a documentary. So we had to switch that up for Penalty. And you can find that on Netflix.
Yeah, it's in one of the Indian languages. I'm not sure which one, but yeah.
I'm sure it's subtitled, so we'll be okay.
Well, of course, they're subtitles, yeah. But no, I'm definitely looking forward to that film. It's just come out very recently, so really looking forward to watching that one and see what that's all about.
Cool, me too. Should be interesting. So I think that's our first South Asian film. Am I right?
Yeah, it's our first South Asian film.
Cool. Regev, where can people find you?
So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Raghav Sandhu.
Adam?
Joypad Goalposts on Twitter and Instagram. And there's actually
preview what the next game is on Joypads for Goalposts?
Goal on the Game Boy.
Never heard of it.
It's terrible.
Terrible? Awesome. Sounds like there's more duds than good ones.
Definitely.
You can find me at A3Football on Instagram, Mark83 on Twitter, and please make sure you're following us on Twitter at Matchday Matinee. Visit our website, matchdaymatinee.com. Remember to subscribe to us on whatever podcast service you're using so you do get our weekly updates. And we may have some cool bonus episodes coming up. If you follow us on Twitter, you may have seen that Kuno Becker actually reached out. And he said, I think he called his brother. He said, "Yeah, brother, let's do this." He downplayed any hopes of a goal for, but who knows? We'll get him on the show and we'll coax out of him. So we're hoping to actually have him on pretty soon. But follow us on Twitter to see how that develops. Thanks for joining us. This has been Matchday Matinee from the Terrace to the Theater. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye now.